What up, guys? You ready for some succubus sickness? Cult of Dracula, here we come. Hey guys, welcome back to Economics and Comics. We got a cool show. We got a new exclusive from Exchange Collectibles, and we have the cover artist, Les Garner. Let's go. What's up, guys?
Yo, what's going on, guys?
What up, folks?
Pretty excited about this book, man. There's some heat on it. So I'm excited. I love Dracula stuff. So this has an interesting story to it too, kind of. Do you know, real quick, welcome, Les. Thank you so much for coming. And of course, Jason again. You can let me see if it's live. Let's go. Let me just double check this.
It's live. I got it on my phone. So yeah, it's good.
Oh, it's a little bit lower. Okay. Okay, here we go. We're gonna share it first. If you guys go to exchangecollectibles.com, it is ready to go. So you have a bunch of different options here. Here's the, oh, you got a metal. Oh my God. Yep. There's a metal cover. Dude, there's so many things I love about this piece, dude. It's classical. It's her holding the heart. And you know what I really like is like the light beams. Yeah, I really love that type of stuff. I don't know what it is about it, but okay. So you got the metal. You have a metal. Then you have the regular trade 9.8 or the Virgin 9.8, and then you have the regular.
There's much virginal about
her. And then you have the regular Virgin, and then you have the trade for $14.99. Now, what are these limited to, Jason?
Metal is limited to 20, and then the trade is 150, and the Virgin is 100.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's a really good, nice low print run. Makes it exclusive. So I don't know where I heard this, but I heard that I'm hearing that it got picked up somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, I even added the link in the descriptions on each of those. Yeah, so it got picked up.
Let me see what he's saying about that. Oh my God, is that really big? Look at that.
Yeah.
Come here, Billy. I want to suck on you. Yes, take my heart.
Eat your heart out, baby.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, option for potential mini series is a Mimi series. That's a little bit bigger than mini.
That's how you know the posting is.
It's fresh. A meanie weenie, and it's oh, here's the link to where it's going.
Yeah,
that's should I click that?
Yeah, click it. It should work.
Oh, this is cool.
Oh wait, oh Jesus. Cult of Dracula sinks its teeth into development deal. There you go, Les.
Nice.
Underground sensation. Of course it is for all the true sickos. Been one of the most talked about new comics. Their high sale numbers and Sure Pictures says Cult of Dracula is the type of property that production companies dream of acquiring. Really exciting. These are the normal covers here, the cover A. But now you guys have to keep that in mind when you're getting exclusives, okay? So this is the regular cover, and no doubt it's great.
Oh, yeah.
But it's mass produced. So in regard to this cover that we're doing here with Les, it's very limited. So, of course, more sought after long term, So there are some great covers, though. But let's get back to your cover. That's what I'm talking about.
Go. Yeah, those are beautiful, man. That's one of the things I saw some of those being posted and just kind of keeping track of things from from Source Point, because my book Apocalypse Girl is also a Source Point, and I kind of follow stuff with the company. So I've seen some of the stuff for Cult of Dracula floating around, and really liked those. So when dude asked if I'd be interested in doing a cover, I'm like, sure. It's doesn't hurt to be in good company like that.
This just has the classic feel of the old school horror, like we were talking about earlier before we jumped on.
Yeah, that's the stuff where I absolutely live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's a big following for that too.
It's like a personal thing for me to kind of evoke, like I feel like I'm not real hidden with my influences, but they do kind of blend together. Probably the biggest one's Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah.
But like this particular piece kind of marries my love of Bernie Wrightson and maybe mid '90s Joe Quesada. Who is not horror, but I always, especially his Sword of Azrael, Batman Sword of Azrael from Joe Quesada, was to me really powerful. Like that actually, from my money, is some of his best work. Or the thing that they did, him and Jimmy Palmiotti did with their event comics called Ash. I still, when I go through my comic book collection and I find old copies of Ash, I'm like, somebody resurrect this damn book because it was so good. So, but yeah, there's like some Wrightson, some Quesada, a lot of old Steve Ditko, even though it's kind of a little more buried on the influence and all that. So, and just tons of stuff from those old horror comics. You just can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of us, and I'm not sure how old you are, Les, but I'm in my 40s, and a lot of my subs are 40, 50, 60. We all relate to the old school horror. I mean, that's what we grew up in. I think we're the luckiest. I mean, I don't know what your age group, but I'm sure it's somewhere where I just said.
I actually turned 47 next week.
Oh, okay, so I'm 45, so don't be upset.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah.
believe me. So, but for basically, yes, we're all in the same age group here in this room here right now. But I mean, we grew up watching this stuff. I mean, we weren't exactly the black and whites stage, but we were right after where horror just made such a huge influence on our lives. And then, of course, and that's just like the movie world, but in comics as well, like the early stuff, EC stuff's even earlier than us. But
yeah.
But I mean, like where they started exploring, like what scared you? Because back then, or when we were growing up, it was like the initial concepts of things, like what a werewolf would look like, like the original ideas.
Wrightson's illustrations in Cycle of the Wolf, I think. Actually, I have a copy of that laying around here somewhere. Stephen King's the thing that was made into Silver Bullet.
Yeah,
from Stephen King. And Bernie, like, okay, you mentioned werewolves. Like, werewolves are my thing above all else, which is kind of cool. There's a project I'm working on that is a werewolf project coming up, and that's going to be so tight. I cannot wait to get that thing up and running. But Wrightson back in the day, just unbeatable. There's nobody that can touch Bernie Wrightson's work. As a kid, like I kind of grew up in the middle of nowhere. But every once in a while, there would somehow be like a copy of Creepy or something, in the late 70s, there'd be something slipped through a newsstand that I could get to. And, just various sundry weird ways. And I also had an older brother who had a Foot Locker full of old comics. And there were a lot of old horror comics in there from like the late 60s. And so that stuff had huge impact on me. Another big impact was Esteban Maroto. Esteban Maroto and the stuff that he did on old Vampirella and stuff that he did, I think, in heavy metal way back in the day. That stuff, there's just like, compared to so much of the art, I feel like I got my first gigs I was like 19 years old when I started drawing comics professionally back in the 90s. And there's a lot of stuff I love about the 90s, and there's a lot of stuff that's a valid critique of the 90s. There's also a lot of stuff that's really a valid critique in the opposite directions moving forward. Like in the 90s, everyone was trying to be so hyper detailed. Everything was just over the top. And I feel like there's been this pendulum swing back towards this kind of simplicity since then that to me takes some of the fun out of the art. That's actually kind of cool. That painting right there is that's an airbrush painting of mine from 1996. Um, so I can't believe it's. I feel so good about that. I'm like, man, that was some '96. I still feel good about it. But you know anyway, just what I was saying about that stuff. The stuff in the '90s, it did what it did. It kind of grew out of the house that Neil Adams built and then turned into an extreme thing, and went too far. And then the kind of knee jerk reaction to that is this pendulum swing back the other way that goes to this very retro simplistic sort of thing that I get it. I mean, it's got its place. It's cool. It's created a space where the writers get to breathe more in some ways, and people put more emphasis on the writing. But still, to me, comics are a visual medium, and they're a visual medium. They're driven by the art, and so if I don't know, I don't. Yeah,
no, I agree 100% with you.
There's the black and white piece right there is from a book I did a couple of years ago for Scott Story. He wrote. He has a comic he's done independently for a long time called Johnny Saturn, and I think there might be some pages after that if you scroll down too. So, and that's another one that one's got a little bit more of that Steve Ditko influence in it at times, just heavier lines and things like that.
Yeah, I love that, man.
So, but anyway, yeah, I'm trying to sort of. I guess the last few years with what comic work I've been doing has been kind of finding my footing across, literally decades of different styles and whatever. And, you guys came to me for this cover after I had finished up 6 issues of Apocalypse Girl.
Yeah, which was great.
Thanks. Doing Apocalypse Girl was like, did a lot, just to solidify some things about that whole stylistic kind of growth that I was going through, and as you're flipping through my website, obviously you'll note, that like the website is full of a lot of stuff that's not comic related. My day job, so to speak, is I do a lot of 3D content.
Yeah, I love that too, man. That's great.
Yeah, I've worked in gaming and film and stuff like that, and so I produce a mountain of 3D content for a variety of different clients and markets and so on. And then some of the stuff, these are like book covers, and there's like a couple of album covers. That was a personal piece. I actually need to pick up on that series. I have a series that I started at one point. It was going to be my take on the Masters of the Universe and all that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of digital paintings and things up there, and some studies, and I don't know. It's just kind of a
wow. This is
all sort of
I mean, all this stuff's great, and I imagine like I see in the old Savage sort of Conans, and like I could fit you into so many different styles, or like different types of really great art that I like to see in those type of 70s, 80s books. I know it sounds weird, but
really, I feel like comics really hit. From my personal taste, the mid 80s is just the peak.
Yeah, that's kind of when that's the age group thing again too, though.
Yeah,
like we weren't really accustomed to 70s because we were still shitting in our diaper. But in early 80s is when we would go to 7-Eleven or Circle K, and there would be on the rack.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, it's a visual thing. We would see it and we would grab it, and we would read the story, and then stories are great. Don't get me wrong. I love the writers, and so there's some incredible stories out there, but it was all visual, Well,
I remember this is kind of a funny
I love this piece, by the way.
Oh, cool, dude. Yeah, it's actually a sketchbook piece, like a digital sketchbook piece.
It's dope.
I I like that one. That one I really like. It was intended as a study to lead into Apocalypse Girl stuff, but it just kind of stayed its own thing, and I'm super happy with it.
I like the way you, I I like the way that you're kind of, well, it's not as much on this, and I see how you did like the like light. Is it watercolor?
It's digital, but it's digital meant to emulate watercolor.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I like the way you add that shadow to like kind of create a dimension. But right
Mhm.
here on this, I like the way that you've kind of, can you see my little finger thing?
Yeah.
I like the way you did that kind of like to create like, I don't know what you would call it, but I really
Well,
like it.
I like playing around with like I consider it sculpting light. So like I don't know how well
Yeah,
you can see this on here,
that's a good way to put it.
but
Sculpting.
like this was a study piece that I did about 2 o'clock in the morning last night, and it's literally like this is just a cardboard sheet, so a sheet of a press board. Let's see if it's not
Just
gonna
scoot
happen.
back a little bit and just wait a sec. Yeah, it's just adjusting with the light, but we can see it
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good.
all right. Anyway, yeah, it's like um, maybe I'll like scan it or something later, or shoot a pic of it and share it. But yeah, it's like a really nice study in. I mean, like I roughed out this sketch real quick with pencil on this cardboard, and then all of the all everything on it that's not pencil is just white paint. So it's kind of an interesting play on like working with. Typically, when you're drawing, what you're doing, whether you realize it or not, most of the time you are capturing shadows. Like you're using a pencil or a pen and you're drawing with black and you're capturing shadows. And if you approach drawing as thinking, I'm not drawing the thing, I'm drawing the shadows of the thing, then it helps your artwork a lot. And I wanted to kind of play around with the opposites. Like, okay, instead of drawing the shadows of the thing, I'm drawing the highlights of the thing
Hmm.
and playing with light that way. So that was a fun piece to do. That was really fun. It's called Ecclesia. It was an album cover for a band out of Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's incredible, dude. I could see you easily doing some dope ass Spawn stuff, man.
Oh, dude, I would like.
It'd be amazing if you could. They would get if you could get in somehow. You know how tight that is.
Oh my god! Like this other one was for the same band. Predosia is the name of that one. Um,
Yeah, that's so sick,
Spawn
dude.
is
Holy shit, it's
like
incredible.
Spawn is absolutely at the top of my list of dear God, please let me work on that someday.
What do you do in regard to that? Do you ever send them stuff like
Nah,
I don't even
I
know?
don't bother. I don't bother. I mean, because
Well, what are you gonna lose?
I mean, there's nothing to lose, but frankly, I'm lucky in that I stay so busy with painting work that to take the time and like do samples and send them out and all that kind of stuff at this point is kind of it's just not something I have enough time to do. And especially with the 3D side of what I do, my 3D stuff, I make a pretty good living off of it. And the comic stuff is now picking up to where it's starting to present this other leg of revenue. And I'm working on some things with my website and all that will, again, start to expand things out more. God, I love that little guy. I love that Ignix the Imp. Um, but if anybody is really interested, it's just so horrible. I totally trash talk comics that are done using 3D rendering, mostly because the vast majority I've yet to see one done that I didn't think looked like trash. Um, but I know it can be done. I feel like I got stuff there. They could totally be done, and I think it'd be a blast to try and do it. It just had to be the right project. Uh, but yeah, as far as like sending out samples and stuff like that, most of the work that I've gotten, like I actually worked on a really big project a few years ago with Brian Haberlin, who used to be with Todd McFarlane and those guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was a book of his called Anomaly, and it was the closest thing I would say. Its artwork on page looks painted, but they used 3D assets and posed 3D assets to set all the images up and then paint over the 3D and do a weird hybrid thing. That's the closest anyone's come to using 3D in a comic that I really like. and a lot of the assets used in that I built for them to use. So that was kind of an interesting hybrid. And also, my studio developed the all of the assets and animation and the augmented reality that went with that. Which, to my knowledge, I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Somebody can correct me if they want. But if I'm not mistaken, it was actually the first time in comics that somebody had an augmented reality app. My studio was involved in developing that.
So, does some of the 3D stuff you do for games and stuff, how does that, like, what, like, does some of that stuff go into like actual games, or is it just the art, like the picture?
Well, going back to around 2003, back then, I did about 130 characters for an MMO that was competing with EverQuest back in the day. The stuff typically, what happens is like I will design it up, model it using primarily Maya and ZBrush. These days, mostly ZBrush because I get to really just cut loose on traditional sculpting skills. Then there's a whole really long process. You can see a lot of that stuff if you go to my YouTube channel, YouTube, just 6S1 Media. I have a lot of behind the scenes stuff and like process videos and goofy stuff up there showing all kinds of stuff being made. But yeah, we develop these things out, sculpting them out, then you get into creating the wireframe over that sculpt that actually can perform in an animation environment. Then there's the rigging of that where you develop the bones and stuff inside it and the physiognomy, the way that's all going to work. And then making that able, typically my title on most jobs is TD, Technical Director. So like there was a really fun kind of anime 3D anime thing from back in the early to mid 2000s called Dominator that was with Alan Grant and a guy named became like one of my best friends in life, a dude named Tony Luke, who passed away about 3 years ago. I worked as a technical director and character designer and animator on a ton of stuff with them for years. So what happens is we build these things, we model them up, and then I make sure that the controls are all set and everything is working the way that it needs. And then we typically hand them off to other animators. And like if I develop any kind of a special rig or system inside that for those animators to use, then I'll take them aside and be like, yeah, this is what these controls do and how this works. And it's a lot like puppeting. It's a lot like making puppets, just digital puppets. But everything that we do with that also translates over into like 3D printing, collectibles. It's really wild. Like I've been into the 3D technology and 3D art since '94.
That's early.
Yes. Yeah, I started with that stuff with 3D Studio DOS. So yeah. No, dude, the first 3D models ever made were a spreadsheet. It was literally a spreadsheet of coordinates that you fed into the program, and then it stitched those together in space and created a thing.
Then you were doing that when you were just, what, 20 years old?
Yeah. When I was 19, I got my first comic book gig. And I, while I was on that, it became clear. Well, it was already becoming clear just because like a year or two before that, Image had come about and there was all the digital pre-press starting. And so it became very clear to me. It was like computers, we're talking 1992, 1983. And it became very clear to me. I was like, computers are going to change everything. Which now seems like, well, duh. But back then people were still scoffing at it and didn't know. And so I scraped together everything I could to build to buy the parts, teach myself to build a machine. So I built a machine, then scraped together everything I could to get into 3D, 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 and good lord, it was like Photoshop back with like version 1.
Version 1.
Well, because my thinking was, this is so funny. It shows my lack of self-confidence. Actually, my thought process was, I'm an okay artist. I'm okay. At 19, I was like, I'm decent. Somebody's paying me, so I'm okay. I can pull this off. But if I want to be employable, then I need to be able to shift gears into as many different departments as I can so that I can be as invaluable as I can be. And that's something that I still hold to. I've taught my own son that, who works with me. And I tell young people that all the time. I'm like people will tell you specialize. Yeah, there's a case to be made for that. But I'm like, no, if you want to be employable, be able to shift those gears, you know? And on top of that, if you can shift those gears, then if I'm the line artist on something and somebody else is coloring it, well, because I know how to color, I know what to give them that's going to make their life easier. Well, if I'm doing the colors, well, because I've done pre-press before, I know what to give them that's going to make their life easier. You know, I've done lettering. So even in writing my own books, you know, it's like the more of those things you dip your toe into, the more experiences you get with those things, you know, the better a concept you have of the entire package. It's actually part of why I did Apocalypse Girl. Like, if you look at the credits on Apocalypse Girl, mine are the only hands that touch that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was completely you. And then, you know, speaking of that, the giveaway for anyone who buys,
my baby,
is going to be this bad boy right there.
Woo.
Yeah,
number 50, and this is number 4 of 50. So anyone who
I
buys
love that
today,
cover, man.
Is that a metal one? Dude, I don't
no,
even have
that
one of
one
those. I want one of those.
It's not a metal. It's not a metal.
Yeah, it's not a metal.
Looks good though.
Yeah. No, that
So
I you know, fully believed in that series, and
I
hopefully you
appreciate it,
got
man.
some more coming for Apocalypse Girl.
Well, I
Hopefully.
actually just started writing on Apocalypse Girl Volume 2.
Nice.
And so I hope that, I hope plenty of people kind of come on board for that. It's funny, like in a sense, I will say this about it. If for anybody who's read all 6 issues of the first Apocalypse Girl series, the last page of that whole series should throw you for a loop, and I will tell you, it absolutely sets up a very wild ride coming in the second story. And it gets, like, it's weird. Like, the first 6 issues, I look back at them and I think that's pretty dark. You know, there's pretty dark stuff in there, like just some kind of visceral moments and things like that. But it doesn't feel like a dark book to me. You know, like Apocalypse Girl, it's got some violence in it, but it doesn't feel like what I consider a dark book.
Yeah.
I actually intentionally kind of kept the colors a little brighter. I kept a lot of things brighter because in that there's the first 6 issues is almost her coming of age, her coming into her own after the loss of her father and all this kind of stuff. The second book is dark. Volume 2 is brutal. It's wickedly dark. It's not a big deal to say, like, the main villain of the second book is her sister. And
spoiler.
Well, it's not even a big spoiler because it says so at the last page of the first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right there on the last page. But where it's, God, I wish I could talk about it more. I'd love to talk about it more.
No, it's exciting. I'm happy for you.
But yeah, there is. It's dark on multiple levels. There will be things that happen with her that anybody who's read the first 6 issues and understands the importance of certain characters to her and the way things work in her head, that second story is going to take all of it and it's like, okay, let's turn that upside down and that upside down and that upside down. And by the time it's all said and done, it's trippy. It's dark and trippy is where it's going. So, yeah.
Well, that's really exciting, man. And I'm really excited that, I mean, I love those. That cover with the shotgun, damn, dude, it's so good. and you know, and I'm excited that Jason's got you doing Cult of Dracula now, which could be a huge hit. And it's interesting I just love watching the whole thing, like the whole, like learning about you, watching the books grow, seeing the covers, being a part of like showing everybody, seeing what Jason's got next, seeing what you think about the past and the present and the future, and it's just the whole. I just love the whole thing. So, Jason, you are giving away that 9.8 for people that buy. Let me share this.
Yep. Anyone that buys today, any of the books for Cult of Dracula,
any of the Cult of Draculas, any of
Yep.
them, trade, virgin, metal, slab options, you're going to get entered in to win.
Yep.
And that's exchangecollectibles.com, guys. And then they're going to get entered in to win. What is it again, Jay? Do you have it right
The Apocalypse Girl. Yep. Let me pull it out of there. So this is the Virgin, limited to 50.
Yeah, that's
and
sick.
this is number 4.
Nice. Number 4 of 50.
Number 4 of 50, right there. Bam.
Oh wow! Hey, it's got that. Hold the back of that up, man. Hold the back of that back up.
Yeah, this is how we do all of our super limited slabs.
Oh, that's cool. But I was just looking at the artwork that was put on the back.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that got used anywhere.
Yeah. No, just in talking to the guys over at Source Point, I was like, hey, let's take that unused cover and slap it on the back.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that was originally the cover of issue number 2, when the book was with a previous publisher.
Yeah.
That's what that was originally intended for, was as the cover of issue number 2. But then I changed everything and went with painted covers across all of it, which I feel like was a really good thing to do. I'm glad I did that.
Yeah,
Me too.
It came out amazing.
So, okay, couple things. Jason, is there something for the people when the video is over? If they comment in this video, they're entered to win something too.
Yep, we'll give them Berserker A and B.
Okay.
And for guys that want the slabs, we've got all of the options now for all the ratio slabs. Crazy prices on all of them.
Okay, so if you want slabs, you can get Exchange Collectibles. If you want to try to win those, comment in this video something, and we'll randomize. We'll randomize later. Now, another thing. Sorry, last night. There's a bunch of different things going on every time. Is there something? Are we doing a giveaway today for something, Jason?
Yeah, I think this was for the last video. I didn't write it down.
Okay, well, hang on. I got to find the last video now. Which one was that one?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What was that?
Oh, that was with Satan.
Oh yeah, with Corin, right? I believe that was with Corin.
Did I just say Satan? I didn't mean that. Yeah, she was a lot of fun. There's no doubt about that. Oh, here, no, that's Carla. I gotta find it. Was it Proctor Valley Road?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see here. Let me take that. What? Hang on. Sorry, I gotta. Oh, someone just bought something for me. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Love that sound. Okay, copy. Okay, now I'm gonna go to comment picker. Bing bang boom. And put it in here. So anyone that commented on the video, that last video with Proctor Valley, is entered in, and we're about to randomize to see who won that. What is it? Shannon Mayer. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
How's the one? Right.
Can you see it?
Yep.
I'm pressing the button. Oh, let me make sure. Here we go. The winner is. Get ready to write it down. Jay Hamrick.
I think he won something not too long ago.
Yeah, I feel like he won. I think he won before too. So write that down, and I mean, did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there you go. So yeah, if you want to win the next thing or whatever, comment in this video. Okay, we got that all out of the way. We got that out of the way. Okay, so let me ask you this. Anybody in the chat have any questions? I see a lot of people here today. Let's see here. Who's here? We got Headless Hammerhead, San Diego Chavez, Las Cruces, Janice, Kim, Buddy, Gamma, Craig, Dale, Moonbeast. Let's see here. Daniel, Air Spider. I'm just kind of saying. Taneri. That's a new one. Finga Collector. Rick James. See here. Let's see. There's a lot of people I want to meet. Now that I started, I got to keep going. Comic Joel's here. Matt's here. So, okay. Rob's here. Okay. All right, you guys. So, do you have any questions for Les? If you want, go ahead. There might be a little bit of a lag, Les, because we're a little bit ahead of them. Can you see the comments?
I am. Oh, wait. Let me see. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see.
Lord, there's a lot of you in there. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Let's see what someone says here. I know one question that's coming. And you know what? I bet you might be able to answer this question. No one ever gets this question right, but I bet you might be able to get it.
Oh, boy.
So, Craig, if you're here, you need to ask your question, Craig. This might be a winner.
Janice, we have the I think a few of the Apocalypse Girls on our website still. They might not be completely sold out.
There's a link in the description of the video, Janice, to go or just go to exchangecollectibles.com.
Cool.
Craig's hiding right now. Let's see. Come on, guys. What do you got for him?
Come on, somebody. I am here for your entertainment. Are you not entertained?
I was just thinking it, of course. I didn't want to say it, though. I knew it was coming somewhere. So where are you at, Les? Where do you live at?
I live in the bowels of Eastern Kentucky.
The bowels.
The bowels of Eastern Kentucky.
That's not good to live in the bowels. Is it good to live in the bowels?
I pass through them from time to time, and it works out well. I'm in Moorhead, Kentucky. We're out Interstate 64 between Huntington, West Virginia, and Lexington. So we're on the edge of, actually my house is on the edge of the Daniel Boone National Forest. So no, Kim, I think Source Point will just, when it's ready, it's just be a regular comic from Source Point. Volume 2. She asked if it would be a Kickstarter.
She asked about Apocalypse Girl Volume 2.
Apocalypse Girl Volume 2. Well, the plan, as far as I know, is it will still be carried the same way via Source Point, though I haven't been involved in any Kickstarters or anything like that. All that is wild to me. It's interesting. It's cool. It's new. I kind of want to build up to doing a Kickstarter for Apocalypse Girl number 2. Anyone who kind of knows me personally knows number 1 took forever to do because I had to fit it in between so much stuff. But if I could front load number 2 a little bit, then I work incredibly fast, stupidly fast. I know that I could churn out 6 issues of number 2 to the same level as what was in number 1 inside of 6 months. But I need to front load it enough to be able to, so that it actually becomes, it's really weird. I need my book to be a client.
Yeah.
When do you think it'll roll out? Are we talking about Cult of Dracula or are we talking about Apocalypse Girl? Let me see. They said they're listening to your SoundCloud. I'm not sure what that is.
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Somebody looked my SoundCloud up? That's a new guy out. Holy crap. That's awesome. Oh, shit. Pardon me. That's awesome. Now, I'm going to do something with my camera here for a second. So, and this will show you why that makes sense. Is, come here with the camera. So that's the other half of my studio.
Oh, that's cool.
It's all my music stuff. So I joke with people a lot that art is my day job, and I do art. I make my living at art to fund my music habit, which I know is completely weird. But yeah, I've been a musician since early childhood. Like, was doing classical guitar when I was about 12. I actually taught. I taught classical guitar at Kentucky Christian College when I was 12 years old. So I produce a lot, stupid amounts of instrumental music, a lot of guitar stuff that I used to share. Actually, haven't put anything up in a couple of years. That's why it was so wild to me. But there's a fair amount of stuff on SoundCloud, and I've been tinkering. I actually write a lot of kind of soundscapes, soundtracks, orchestral type scores that are produced digitally, along with some very bizarre electronica. I am a child of the 90s in a way, or at least a young adult of the 90s. So, I came up through listening to a lot of stuff like Nine Inch Nails and Skinny Puppy and old Ministry, KMFDM, and all the old industrial goth stuff from back then. And so when it comes to music, like, it's very strange because as a child, I had to play like country and bluegrass and then classical. So like all of that bleeds into like heavy metal and goth industrial and cold wave. It's just a goofy, weird mishmash of stuff. Even some jazz sometimes, So for anybody who have looked up my SoundCloud, I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to hear what all that means.
Yeah, I have a ton of other music that I'm planning on dropping on YouTube at some point just to put it out somewhere. So,
someone asked if we'll ever meet each other in the future in the same. Of course. Yeah. I mean, I've in regard to Les, maybe I'll see him at a Comic-Con someday. But in regard to Jason, I'm planning on seeing you in August. If I get my COVID shot, we're coming out there for my stepson's 21st. So.
There you
go. I'm going to come see you. I mean,
I am ready to roll to wherever.
I think we all are ready to get the hell out of here.
Yeah. There was a question somebody had. Anyway, whatever. So
let me see.
There was a thing about Apocalypse Pro Volume 2, and I was talking about it, and then somebody interrupted. Totally broke my mindset with the thing about SoundCloud, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, when they wanted to know when it'll be released.
Oh, probably. I don't know. I honestly, have, because even when it's finished, the release is really up to. I'm totally down with leaving that up to the guys at SourcePoint. I mean, because it's like
they time it all. Then it's about moving product. At the end of the day, so they're not going to launch it when they're not going to launch it at the same time they launch like another number one. It's got to be all timed out.
Yeah. So like, it's one of the reasons I was thinking about a Kickstarter too. Is like just on the value add side for the readers. Was it's like looking at maybe exploring how we could do a Kickstarter that then has like kind of an early bird aspect to it, so there's like a limited run of stuff that you get before the official release,
like a preview of number one. Alternate.
Yeah, well, and unlike, I've heard some horror stories about people never finishing what they got kickstarted, and I think that is just such hot garbage. Like, I could not sleep at night if I tried to pull that crap with anybody. And so like if I kind of want to front load it so that I have a little bit of working funds to be able to cover some time and get into the development on it. But at the same time, I'm still kind of iffy on the whole process. There's lots of different routes that you can go with that, but I want people to understand. It's one of the reasons I didn't bother trying to kickstart anything around the first volume, the first 6 issues. It's like, I want people to see, here's a book. This is a damn book that I produced by myself. I produced the whole thing. Here it is. We fulfilled it. There it is. You can count on this. You could take this to the bank,
Well, so, maybe you could do like a trade. Did they already do a trade of it yet?
The trade is number 1, yeah.
Yeah, I think that just came out for volume 1.
Oh, that would have been a good thing. Like, or maybe you could do like alternate covers for the
That's
cover.
what they did on this one, right? With the Kickstarter on this, which I thought was kind of interesting. What Boom did is they kickstarted it, and then they say for your Kickstarter you get the trade or not the trade, right? So, but you have to wait for the trade to come out when it's going to come out. So, because they didn't want to take away from comic sales. So it's like, okay, you're going to kickstart, you get a copy of the trade when it releases, but that's at the same time the trade releases at all the comic stores, so you can still sell the comics. So that was an interesting way to do it, I thought. Because they want to
kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they didn't want to take away from the comic stores and from selling the floppies with the Kickstarter. So
they but they did do, like, if you did that, so you get like the trade and the trade on the back end down the road, but up front you got like issue.
No, they wait on the trade. Yep,
just wait on the trade.
On the trade.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
and then what Boom did is they sent emails to everyone, said, "Hey guys, look, the book is coming out. If you don't want to wait for the trade, you can go buy the floppy from your LCS." And that was really driving people into the LCSs that were not even comic book people because of the whole Keanu Reeves thing. So it was kind of bringing, people into that. But, maybe you give them a digital of the book or something, and then they get the trade, and then they can go buy the floppies. I don't know. Something like that would be.
Some combination of stuff like that. Like for me, if I'm going to, I have never backed a Kickstarter. I just haven't. It's not that I don't want to. I just, honestly, for me as a consumer, I'm like, I bought my mic. When I put my money down, I want my thing. I'm like, money, thing. And the more of a delay there is between money and thing, the more unhappy I get. So, and I kind of, that's the lens I view the whole thing through. So I feel like if I were to kickstart Apocalypse Girl Volume 2, what I want to do with that is going to come up with some kind of a plan where I make sure that if you put your money down, as soon as possible, you have some content in your hands that lets you know, yes, my money is going to back this thing. It's actually being used. This is really real. And you get something for it. I mean, if I can have something that is instantaneous, even like you get it as soon as you back it, plus something later, even, I feel like at the end of the day, with anything I do, whether it's comics or music or 3D art or any of that stuff, if you're buying it, I'm serving you. You are the client, you are the customer. And it is my absolute job to produce the coolest thing I possibly can that hopefully you are going to enjoy, and to enhance your enjoyment of that any way I can. And part of that is not having to wait. So, whatever that can look like. So,
well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's the point of a Kickstarter, though.
I know. Well, and that's the conundrum of it.
It's to fund it so they can print it.
Yeah, it's this great way to front load it so we can do this. That's why I was thinking, it's like, you could totally do a digital version of it before it ever goes to print. You could do,
you could do a kick with like an alternate cover and say, while you're waiting, here's the digital of the whole thing. Here's the digital, enjoy it, and you'll get that way. You don't have to mess with this beautiful version of the cover that we did. You can keep it for, and you can read it on here, and you can read it now while you're waiting. That might be a good balance.
That might be something to think about. I mean, I've wondered about the whole transition. God, it's so funny. I actually was out of the comic business for a long, long time, just doing animation. And from like 98 until 2010, 2012, I was almost completely gone from the comic industry. And when I came back to it, there were things that had happened, changes, evolutions that I kind of knew were going to happen while I was away, but I didn't know quite how. And I'm honestly still getting my footing. And I when I look around and talk to people, I feel like everybody is still getting their footing. And just as soon as you get your damn footing, it changes again.
Well, this is what I've noticed in the last year. Well, of course, a lot of what you're saying has to do with COVID, but but the thing is, like, most artists are coming from the animation field. But I mean, you're one of the earliest, but a lot of these younger artists, or some that are in our age group, or a little bit younger, they all went directly to animation, and then the teachers there said you can turn this into, you look easy to, there's a good transition right into comic books, which is good for a lot of people that go look into animation. And at the same time, in regard to what you're saying, I hear a lot too from other artists and writers and etc. is that they're having to transition to an online thing because no one's going out, and it's really helping them. I mean, it's been a gigantic boom for the industry, comic book industry, artists getting more exposure. And of course, there's a little learning curve, but it's actually real simple once all you gotta do is turn it on and look at a camera, So, but
it's
like
for me to see the like, depending on what industry news you read, just depends on what you read. Some things make it sound like the apocalypse is right around the corner for the entire world of comics, and things
I don't buy that.
awful at DC, and the big Leviathans are failing. But then I look around and I see, Indiegogo and Kickstarter and small publishers.
That's the future.
And I'm like, yes, bring those big elephants down. Marvel and DC, if you're listening, I will still take your money. I will still work for you.
No, you just screwed yourself. You just buried yourself right before
I'm pretty sure that I was shot with that one long ago. So,
but
there's
I
so
give
many different reasons I've never done work for any of that. But
it's first the comic book world into the social internet in the last year. So now everyone's realizing, shit, I can make so much more money going live than going to Comic-Con. And that's unfortunate because eventually, I mean, I want con back. It'll still be there, but all these artists now, they're on every day.
Well, my personal thing, like what I was really looking forward to 2020 until it happened, because Apocalypse Girl was going to wrap up. There was lots of shows that were planned, and I love the shows. I'm a gregarious, extroverted, playful guy, and I love the shows and getting out there and taking pictures with people and just having a ball. I have a ball, it's like leftover from my days of being in bands and playing on stages. I just love the performance of being out there doing that stuff. And having that taken away in 2020 was a kick in the nuts.
Yeah,
I was like,
man,
I mean,
a lot of artists survive on what I call the circuit, which is just touring, Comic-Cons, all of you, really, except the few that are so well known they don't even have to move and they make money. But it's all about. Yeah, well, he sold those, right? He sold his rights, but or whatever. He didn't sell his rights, but he owned the right. He owns the rights. But I mean, it's about adapting, and I mean, online's not going anywhere, man. So you need to get over. You were talking about how you were thinking about doing some art on like, show that little piece you're working on. You're going to have a camera, and what's your YouTube again? YouTube again?
This other one, actually, there's another one here that'll probably show up.
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, like this guy right here.
Yeah, so
that camera's just, I don't know why my camera is so damn.
Get really close, really fast, and then pull away. Yeah, it's just the lighting. It's the lighting, but you were saying you're going to have a setup cam so that you can draw live. People love that, man. So I wish more artists would do that.
I don't know if that tightened it up or not. I was playing with a setting on.
It's what's happening is the camera's fighting the light, and it can't.
Oh, that's probably because my camera's sitting on top of my Cintiq.
It's just trying to focus, But I think that would be great for you to, go live, do your art, and with the camera over the piece so everyone can watch. That's my favorite thing about Comic-Con. Besides, people watching, my favorite thing is to get commissions and just to stand there and watch. I know artists hate when you're sitting there looking at them. They go, come back in a couple hours. But
I love that part. I mean, like, for
that's
me,
my favorite thing.
when I'm at a show, okay, and it's funny. This is going to kind of, I don't know if it reveals something about me or what, but like I love airbrushing, right? Like I love using airbrushes for paintings and things like that. And where I came up with from that stuff was like back in the mid '90s, 92, 93, and so on. When I was drawing comics, I was doing indie vampire comics. That was the other reason Cult of Dracula. I was like, yeah, get me back on these vampire comics, man. That just feels right. That's where I started. But I was drawing vampire comics in the mid '90s, and I was oddly enough making enough to kind of pay my rent. But it was tight, and so I supplemented my income at the time with two other jobs, and those were I was this is weird. I was an on-air. I was a producer, engineer, and on-air host for an NPR affiliate doing classical and jazz programming. And then I airbrushed, and I helped run a series of airbrush shops through Kentucky, and would airbrush at the shops. I'd airbrush at carnivals and stuff like that. It was just silly T-shirt junk, like we're talking beach seeds and all that kind of crap. But I enjoyed and I like being able to draw. I would oftentimes do stuff that other airbrush artists who all they know is the schlock. They don't know actual art. And I would just cut loose on some of the wild stuff, and people loved it. And it was always a thing, like running the airbrush shops. If there were people and nobody was biting, I'd whip out a canvas and throw it up, and I'd start doing some crazy demon monster thing. Boom, people would stop and watch. Once they stopped and watched, then, oh, how much is that? Well, this is this much, but this stuff over here is this much, and we could do that for you, and, I'll put a little extra effort into it. Boom, we make our day. And that's what I come up through, and I approach, like, we had a rule. We had a rule about how much a minute of our time was supposed to be worth. That's how we budgeted every single thing. And I still do that to this day as a businessman. I literally can tell you down to the minute what my time is valued at.
What is it, about $3 and something a minute?
I don't want to say.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what's like 200 an hour. I'm like, I don't even know if that's low or high, or it just seems like
you're in the ballpark. You're in the ballpark.
Yeah. So if you're gonna like do a full sketch, I'm trying to think about like prices and of course,
honestly, I treat, like, at conventions and stuff, I treat doing sketches for people as more of a promotional thing.
Yeah, and I get the idea of what you're saying about being a showman. Being able to have people group up to watch you do something is of course, it's a tactic, but it's also a brilliant tactic that you get them, watching what you're doing, and they're wanting it.
Oh,
like,
dude,
I love that.
This is so funny. Apocalypse Girl has been Source Point is actually her third publisher.
Oh wow!
Yeah. The first publisher was, you guys might know this name. Do you guys know Bob Hickey?
I know the last name. I just can't remember where from.
Robert Hickey. Okay, you know what Blue Line Pro paper is?
Yeah, the com paper.
Yeah. Well, the folks who make that are based out of Independence, Kentucky, right up the road from
Blue Line. Okay.
And Bob, with that, he used to publish comics. He had a thing called Sky Comics for a while. It was an imprint of Caliber back in the '90s. God, this is ancient history stuff. It was through him that I got some of my earliest work in the '90s. And then when I came back around to comics, he was getting back into publishing, and so I was like, okay, I trust Bob. We'll go with him for Apocalypse Girl. He was interested, and we did it. And we did a couple conventions with him. Fun fact: we did a run of, I think, 700 copies of a preview of Apocalypse Girl. That was the first 10 pages of issue number 1, and it had a slightly different version of the cover of number 1. I altered that painting, changed her hair in it. It was frizzier in the original version. I like this new version much better. But we did a 700 copy run, and we gave away a pile of those at Free Comic Book Day, I think in 2014, 2015. could not keep a hold of them at Free Comic Book Day. They were just gone. And then we sold those at shows for $1. This 10-page thing for $1. And we were doing Tricon in Huntington, West Virginia. And this is where the reason this whole came up is the showman thing. Was so across from us, and this is actually also leads into how I got with SourcePoint. So across from us at Tricon is Dirk Manning. And then down and across from him is Billy Tucci. Now, I was very familiar with Billy. I love Billy. I love Billy's work forever.
He's really nice, man. He's a really nice guy.
Billy's down there, and he's doing his thing and all that. And we got a line going of people for Apocalypse Girl, for the book, for sketches, book and sketches. I'm just cranking those things out. When I get get going, I pencil about 4 pages a day. Sometimes I'll pencil and ink 4 to 6 pages. It just depends on the pages. And so I'm just burning these things out. And this line is like a mile long. I was so happy about that. I was like, wow, this is really going to work. And then Billy knows Bob because he buys art supplies from him. So they had their booth split between the comics they were publishing and then their art supply line. So Billy gets up and comes running over and is like, what the hell is going on over here? And everybody's like, oh, there's Billy. And he comes behind the table. And before I know it, I got this head right here. And this guy pokes his head over and he goes, what the hell are you doing over here, man? You got all the line. Everybody's over here. What's going on over this? And he's like, oh, that's pretty cool. You do that? That's yours? That's your book? I'm like, yeah. Hi, Billy. Big fan. It's like, it's like, I got this guy who is kind of a bit of a hero of mine, poking his head over my shoulders and what's up? What is that? And I'm like, oh shit. And it just ended up, it was really weird, but it was that whole thing of like, it's just like burning it out. I was having so much fun. It's just so damn much fun because the people were just hanging out and talking and people were asking about things and everybody was like looking at the sketches and getting, like, I was just, people, I'd be sketching something and somebody be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I'm like, man, that is cool. Here, let's do that. Just work it in there. And then people would get their sketches and show them off. And it was just a blast, man. It was like a party. It was just like an art party there for me and all these people. And, and I don't know, it could seem egotistical when I talk about it because I'm the one sitting there doing the art and the work. But I'm watching these people. They're all talking to each other at that point, and they're having a good time, and I'm talking to them and it's just all working. So really, there's this way that those moments go beyond being about me and my art and my book, or just them. It's these people connecting with each other in this really cool way. And God, I miss that.
Yeah, I feel that same way. Like, I want to bring that experience that you just talked about to YouTube.
Yeah.
And so when we do a live show, like all these people that are over here have been here for a long time, they have their own world. They're talking, and they talk to us, and we're all intertwined. And it's almost the same thing, except I'm looking at no one.
Yeah.
That's the boring part with the actual interaction where you can see someone's expression or something like that. But we'll get as close as we can, but I know exactly what you mean. I love Comic-Con for that reason alone, is just personal interaction and be able to meet your heroes and stuff like that.
That stuff is such a blast. And then that day was the first time I ever met Dirk, because Dirk eventually was like, what do you guys got going on over there? Because you know how Dirk is and his whole presentation. I love the guy. And I ended up, I was like, what do you got going on over there? So I go over and we start talking and all that kind of stuff. And we trade cards and give him a copy of Apocalypse Girl, and he's like, this is actually pretty good. I'm like, I kind of think so, thanks. And then we kind of kept up with each other for a couple of years, and I was like, you ever need an artist on something? I'm into horror, and I've actually made my living at times off Lovecraft related stuff, which that's a whole other thing. But we stayed in touch, and then eventually I made the decision to look for a different publisher. And I ended up with a company called Insane Comics out of Chicago, a guy named James Munch. Super cool dude. I love Jim. I'm still friends with Jim. And Jim really believed in Apocalypse Girl. And then he picked it up and did a couple of shows with him. Did Cedar Rapids, Iowa with him, and then did C2E2 a few years back. I forgot what year it was now. It's all freaking blur. I think it was like 2018? 2018? Yeah. And maybe 2017. I don't remember now. But yeah, did C2E2 with him, and it was at C2E2. Lots of details I'm just going to cut to the chase. But at C2E2, Source Point was there, and Dirk comes over. He's taking a break. He walks around. He's like, Les, what's going on? He's looking at stuff. And at that time, we actually had the first 2 issues of Apocalypse Girl out with Insane Comics. And he's looking at it, and he's like, can you take a break for a minute? And I'm like, yeah, I can take a break. So I'm like, Jim, I'll be right back. And Dirk, he's like, grab a couple copies of that. Come with me. And we go over to Source Point, and Travis is back behind the table, just hustling, doing his thing, and all this kind of stuff. And Dirk is like, Travis. Travis is like, what? What do you want? You know? And Dirk's like, Travis, this guy. I want you to meet this guy. I've told you about this guy. I want you to meet this guy. And Travis is like, yeah, hi. Doing the thing with books. Okay, cool. Yeah. And Dirk is like, no, come here. Actually meet him. And Travis, he was hustling, man. He was getting books out, and he was doing his job. He was doing a damn good job of it too. I was very impressed. And Dirk is like, he's like, Les, give him your book. I hand him my book. He looks at the cover. He's like, oh. Travis, he flips through. He goes, what'd you do on this? And I'm like, all of it. And he's like,
yeah, that's the rare part right there, man. Everything.
Yeah. He's like, he looks at the credits. He's like, he looks and he sees Insane Comics on. I guess him and Jim know each other. He goes, you're with Jim? I'm like, yeah, he's been pretty good to me. He's like, well, I picked this up. I'm like, I didn't know that. Nobody told me. I had no clue. I pretty much stay in my hole and just make my stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, he's like, you got anything else you're looking for a home for? I was like, I got a couple things. And we kind of talked a little bit and blah, 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 blah. And then a couple of months later, Jim decided to close up Insane Comics. And like literally, he sent a message out through a group on Facebook, I think it was. And through a group on Facebook that coordinated a lot of us who were with him. And like, guys, I hate to tell you, we're doing this, we're closing it down. It's too much of a burden, too much money, it's losing money, blah, blah, blah. And he was not using Diamond, and there's a few things that I think, a few areas where I think he zigged when he should have zagged, basically. But as soon as I got that message, I private messaged him, and I was like, can I get a release for Apocalypse Girl? Because I may know somebody who might want this.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah. And at the same time, I had a window right next to it where I immediately messaged Travis. Like, hey, Travis, you said you would be interested in this. Well, Insane Comics just went under, and I'm suddenly looking for a home. He's like, you got a release letter? I'm like, let me get on that. Hey, Jim, where's that release letter? Well, Les, here's your release letter. Hi, Travis, here's my release letter. He's like, okay, great. I'll have a contract to you in a week. Done. I was like,
yeah.
It's like, wow, this is
that's the fun about the in the industry. So
it was just all the series of weird bouncing around, and happened to bounce into Dirk, and there's a whole other Billy too. There's some stuff I actually helped Billy with on like video editing and stuff like that down the road. But this whole thing with Dirk, and now, which is funny that all that leads to this. I was talking about werewolves. There's a project coming up that I'm working on with Dirk. He's writing. I'm going to be doing all the artwork to it. That is.
Oh, that sounds good. Well, hopefully we'll have you back to drop that. That'll be pretty dope. But
I'm excited.
I'm really excited for you, man. It's a good cover. There's a good book. It's got some good chances. We've gone over an hour, which is usually the time limit. So I am
notoriously wordy, so you always feel free to just be like, time.
time. And I appreciate you coming, Les. I really do. And thanks so much, Jason. You guys go to Exchange Collectibles, get your copy. And of course, you can comment in this video and you have a chance to win some stuff as well. And that's it. I really appreciate your guys' time so much. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys later. Anything else, Jason? Les?
Nope, I think that's about it.
Only thing I would like to drop on the way out is come by. Please take a minute to come by sixus1.com. If we can post a link to that somewhere, I don't know.
Here, how do I spell it again?
SIXUS1, just the number one there. .com.
There you go. I put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So
I would just ask, it's like if you would please. I know I'm bad about it. I don't like signing up for newsletters and spammy type stuff because I think everything in the world is spammy and I'm just kind of weird like that. But if you dig my stuff, come to the site, sign up to the newsletter. I don't do them a lot. I'm not going to pester you with them, but really will help me out in some plans and things for the future, like Apocalypse Girl and other stuff that I have in mind. If we can get you folks who are interested into the mail.
Yeah, sign up, guys. Sign up to his newsletter. Check out his stuff. We kind of toured it a little bit ago. And thanks again. I appreciate it.
Cool.
All right, you guys have a great day. Thanks again so much.
Cool.
Yep. Later, guys.